Prayer. Dear students, kindly close your eyes and join your hands for God's blessings. Loving God, you are the source of all wisdom and knowledge. I submit myself to your divine touch and inspiration. Help me to concentrate on my studies and enable me to remember all that I learn. Bless all the responsibilities of all the leaders, my teachers and parents. Amen.
Hi students, I hope you all fine and safe. I am Sheba. I am going to be a social teacher for this year, and today this video we are going to learn a lesson from history. Unit 1, Sources of Medieval India. Learning objectives: to acquaint ourselves with sources of the study of medieval India, temples, mosques, tombs, palaces and forts as important sources, literary and inscriptional texts, accounts of Arab and Turkish travelers. Introduction. In Indian history, numerous and varied sources are fortunately available to the historians engaging in the study of medieval India. Before we start our lesson, we should recall few points about history. Okay, first of all, what is history? History is the study of recorded events of past in chronological order. What is chronological order? If the events are arranged in order by the time it's happened, then it's known as chronological order. The term history has been derived from the Greek word historia, which means learning by inquiry. So, history is all about learning by inquiry. Indian history has been classified into the Hindu age, the Muslim age and the British age based on the religion of the rulers who ruled the country in that particular period. Later, the necessity of including social and economic condition, historians changed the names. How they changed? The Hindu age they changed as ancient period, the Muslim age they changed as medieval period, and the British age changed as modern period. What are the three classifications of Indian history, students? The ancient period, the medieval period and the modern period. Yes, we already learned ancient period in 6th standard, and you are going to learn about modern period in the 8th standard, and this year you are going to learn about medieval period. This medieval period classified into two. One is early medieval period, that is Common Era 700 to 1200, and later medieval period, which is from Common Era 1200 to 1700. Now we are going to start our lesson, Sources of Medieval India. These sources are classified into two. One is primary sources and another one is secondary sources. What is primary sources? The sources which give the first-hand information is known as the primary sources, and the secondary sources are the writings of some travelers who visited in our country. In primary sources, we are having three important points. First one is inscriptions, second one monuments and coins. And secondary sources, we are having religious and secular literature, books, biographies and autobiographies, travelers and travelogues. The first point is inscriptions. Inscriptions are writings engraved on the soil surfaces such as rocks, stones, temples, walls, The first point is inscriptions. Inscriptions are writings engraved on the solid surfaces such as rocks, stones, temple walls, and metals. Inscriptions contain rich information about kings, royal decrees, dedications, donations, monuments raised in commemoration of victories in wars, and the memory of deceased warriors. What is royal decrees? The official order passed by the kings. Dedication means how the king served for the people. And donations, what and all the gifts offered to the people by the king. Next, this inscriptions gives information about the lands gifted by Chola kings. These Chola kings gifted so many lands to the people by various names. Okay, that names now we are going to see. Velan Vagai, land of non-Brahmin proprietors. That means Velan Vagai is the land gifted to the non-Brahmin proprietors in the society. Brahmadeva is the land gifted to Brahmins. You know, the people who is doing temple related works are called Brahmins. Shalabhoga is the land for the maintenance of a school. Devadana, land gifted to the temples. Pallichandam, land donated to the Jaina institutions. Several copper plates issued to the eminent people in the society to record the events. In that, both the giver and receiver were very elaborately described. The high cost of copper made palm leaf and paper cheaper alternatives for recording royal orders and events in royal court. The next point is stone inscription. In stone inscriptions, major focus is upon the giver. Look at this picture, students. This is called a stone inscription. That is, the inscriptions written on the stone. For example, Tiruvalankkadu plates of Rajendra Chola, Anbil plates of Sundara Chola. Uttaramerur inscriptions. It is in Kanchipuram district. Provide details about village administration. Look at this wall, students. It's look like simply a wall. But if you are keenly look on this wall, everything inscriptions. They are inscripted so many informations about village administration. Now we are going to see about monuments. Monuments are in the form of temples, mosques, palaces, tombs, minars and minarets. The inscriptions in these monuments contain rich information which can be used to reconstruct the history. Next, we are going to see some pictures of temples. This is Khajuraho temple in Madhya Pradesh. This is Konark or Sun temple in Odisha. And this is Dilwara, which is there in Mount Abu in Rajasthan. This is our famous temple, Tanjore, which is there in Tamil Nadu. Next one is Gangekonda Cholapuram, which is there in Ariyalur district. Next one is Dharasuram in Tamil Nadu. These are the few examples of temples. Then mosque. Quwaitul Islam Masjid, Motki Masjid, Jamma Masjid, Fatehpur Sikri Dargah, Charminar. These mosques give the rich information about the Islam rulers in that particular period. Next, we are going to see forts. Agra Fort, Chittoor Fort, Gwalior Fort, Red Fort, Daulatabad Fort, Firoz Shah Kotla. These forts are the examples of excellent architecture of medieval period. Palaces. These are the palaces of Rajput dynasty. Jaipur Palace, Jaisalmer Palace, Jodhpur Palace, Qutub Minar and Alai Darwaza. What's the meaning of minar and minaret? That's the type of tower typically built into or adjacent to mosque. Darwaza means the southern gateway of the Quaitul Islam Mosque. Cities. So many cities in our country are started to destroying because of time. Such cities are Firozabad, Tughlakabad, which is there in North India, and Hampi in South India. One of the material sources is coins. The picture and legend on the coins convey the names of kings with their titles and portraits, events, places, dates, dynasties and logos. The composition of metals in the coins gives us information on the economic condition of the empire. Muhammad Ghori had stamped the figure of goddess Lakshmi on his gold coins and had his name inscribed on it. These coins tell us that this early Turkish invader was in all likelihood liberal in religious outlook. Copper coins. Copper jittals and silver tanga, which were introduced by Iltutmish, gave more information about Delhi Sultans. A jittal contained 3.6 grains of silver. 48 jittals were equal to 1 silver tanga. Now we want to learn secondary sources. What are the secondary sources? The secondary sources include religious and secular literature, books, biographies and autobiographies, travelers and travelogues. Literature. Literatures are creative writings in the form of poets, novels, dramas, fictions and non-fictions. These literatures are considered as the superior in all the books. Religious literature means books which contain information about a particular religion and principles. The Chola period was known as the period of devotional literature and works such as Kambaramayanam, Sekira's Periyapuranam, Nalayira Divya Prabandham was composed by 12 alvas and compiled by Nadamuni. Devaram composed by Appar, Sambandar and Sundara and compiled by Nambiyandar Nambi. Manikyavasaga's Tiruvasagam all were scripted during the Chola times. Then Jayadeva's Gita Govindam, that was written by Jayadeva in 12th century. It was written in Sanskrit language. Next, secular literature. It means literature which is not rooted in religious beliefs, practices and tradition. In that, first we are going to see about Madhura Vijayam, written by Ganga Devi, and Amukta Malyada by Krishna Deva Raya. Both these books are detailedly described about the Vijayanagar Empire. One of the important secondary sources of medieval period is books, biographies and autobiographies. First one, books. Minhaj as-Siraj, patronized by Sultan Nasruddin, Muhammad's slave dynasty, wrote Tabakat-e-Nasri. The compendium deals with the period from the conquest of Muhammad Ghori. The compendium was named after his patron. Here, patronized means helping some people or guarding some people. Ziaud Barni, a courtier of Muhammad Tughlaq, wrote Tariq-e-Firoz Shahi, in which he dealt with the history of Delhi Sultanate from Ghiyasuddin Palban to the early years of the reign of Firoz Shah Tughlaq. Here, Tariq or Taqiq are Arabic words meaning history. Firishta's Tariq-e-Firisto deals with the history of the rise of the Mughal power in India. In the 16th century, Emperor Babur's Babarnama and Abul Fazl's Aini Akbari and Akbarnama provided detailed information about these two emperors. In the 17th century, Jahangir wrote his memoir Tuski Jahangiri, throwing a lot of light on the period. Apart from autobiographies of emperors, Tabaqat-e-Akbari, authored by Nizamuddin Ahmad, is considered reliable than the exaggerated account of Abul Fazl. Similarly, Badauni's outstanding work Tariq-e-Badauni was published in 1595. This work spans 3 volumes. The volume on Akbar's reign is a frank and critical account of Akbar's administration, particularly of his religious policy. Travelers and travelogues. Who is called a traveler? The people who is visiting the different countries are called travelers. What does a travelogue mean? The people who is visit different countries write a book about the country's people, cultures, religions and their habit of food, etc. Marco Polo. Marco Polo, a Venetian traveler, visited when the Pandya kingdom was becoming the leading Tamil power in the 13th century. Marco Polo was twice in Kayal, which was a port city presenting in Thoothukudi district of Tamil Nadu. It was full of ships from Arabia and China. Marco Polo tells us that he himself came by a ship from China. According to Marco Polo, thousands of horses were imported into southern India by sea from Arabia and Persia. Al-Biruni. Al-Biruni accompanied Muhammad of Ghazni in one of his campaigns and stayed in India for 10 years. The most accurate account of Muhammad's Somnath expedition is that of Al-Biruni. As learned man and a scholar, he travelled all over India trying to understand India and the people. He learned Sanskrit and studied the philosophy of India. In his book Tariq-e-Hind, Al-Biruni discussed the Indian conditions, systems of knowledge, social norms and religion. Ibn Battuta. Ibn Battuta, an Arab-born Morocco scholar, travelled from Morocco right across North America to Egypt and then to Central Asia and India. His travelogue Rihla contains rich details about the people and the countries he visited. According to him, Egypt was rich then because of the whole of the Indian trade with the West passed through it. Ibn Battuta tells us of caste in India and the practice of sati. He described the city of Delhi, a vast and magnificent city. These were the days when Sultan Muhammad bin Tughlaq transferred his capital from Delhi to Devagiri in the south, converting this city into a desert. Other travelers. In the south, Vijayanagar had many foreign visitors who left behind their detailed accounts of the state. The first, Niccolo Conti. He came from Italy in 1420. Abdur Razzaq came from Hart, the court of Great Khan in Central Asia, and in the year of 1443 in India. Domingo Paes, a Portuguese traveler, visited the city in the year of 1422. Dear students, all these sources give important information about medieval period. In this lesson, we learned the value of our past Indian history. Thank you, students. We will meet again in the next class.